Hi and welcome to another gaming video, and in today's video it's just a quick one, and it's why I never installed custom firmware on a Vita and why a lot of people don't install custom firmware on a PS Vita. Now, I love installing custom firmware, especially on handheld consoles. I've done it to a DSi, DSi-LL, a 3DS, new 3DS XL, 2DS, new 2DS XL, even my Sony PSP has custom firmware. But there's two reasons why I haven't done it on a Vita. First one, it's probably the trickiest console to get custom firmware on and to get it up and running. But the main reason is because you lose the cart slot. So you've got a memory card slot, which you put in a memory card, but you've also got a cart slot, a game cart slot. And if you install custom firmware, you need to put an adapter in there, a MicroSD to Vita adapter. That pops in the game slot, and then you can install custom firmware, or you have to use it the other way around, where you have to have a custom firmware to then run that. But either way, it takes up the game cart slot, which means if you've got a selection of Vita games that you've bought, you can't play them. Now, you're running custom firmware, so you could download them, but it just takes away that main element of why you own that console. With a DSi, you install custom firmware, it brings Twilight menu, so it does change the whole OS look, but you can play your regular carts in the cart slot. But with the 3DS, 2DS, new 3DS, etc., the system menus and the sort of OS still stays the same. It adds a few apps in and allows you to run custom apps, but you can just pop a cartridge in and it plays that game just like you would do normally. Even with the PSP, you install custom firmware, it opens up the hardware, it allows you to play unsigned games and games off of the memory card, but you could still pop in a UMD and play games that way. But with the PlayStation Vita, you lose that ability altogether. The game cart becomes part of the custom firmware setup, and that is one reason I never installed custom firmware on my Vita. If I was to buy another one, which I was sort of thinking about, maybe I would install custom firmware, because actual physical PS Vita games are very expensive. But then you break into the realms of sort of piracy. It's okay to download ROMs if you own the physical game, but then I suppose if you still have your Vita game, you just can't play it because you've got custom firmware on your Vita, then you could download it and play it that way. Yeah, it just spoils the Vita, I think. They should have ran custom firmware off of the memory card slot rather than the game cart slot. So, short video just explaining why myself and many others don't install custom firmware on a PS Vita. Don't get me wrong, installing custom firmware on a Vita really opens up the hardware. It takes away those limitations that Sony put on, and the custom sort of game scene is fantastic, but I like the ability to play regular games in their original format. Let me know, am I barking up the wrong tree? Should everybody who owns a Vita now install custom firmware and forget the game cart slot? Let me know. Link, like, subscribe, enjoy.